Sweden. Beautiful countryside, beautiful architecture, beautiful people, beautiful women. What more can you say about this wonderful country with its history, its heritage and its bohemian attitude towards life? You go to Sweden, you have a great time. With its liberal laid-back attitude, they'll welcome you with open arms, embracing you into their bosom. What more could you want from a society? And on this road to liberalism, where will the future hold? Where will it take Sweden? Where will they end up in the next, 5-10 years? Let's have a look, shall we? Let's just see. Well, a damn sight more rapes by the looks of it, because Sweden at the moment has a rape epidemic. Women getting beaten up in the street purely because they got blonde hair mostly. The authorities offering out warnings for women to walk in pairs. Police stations being blown up, and then you've got radicalists burning the Swedish flag on the streets. I mean, that's just welcoming for you, isn't it? That's just, yes, let's have more. Let's have more people come to our country, rape our women, destroy our police stations and burn our flags on the streets. And what do the authorities say to this? It's fine. It's just their culture. That's how they want to live. I know. Yeah, we're welcoming Sweden. It's absolutely fine. Bring more in so they can destroy us. They don't think.
You don't have to be Nostradamus to predict the future. You go to cities like Malmo, Sweden's third city, that are 20 years ahead demographically. That's what the rest of Sweden is going to be, and Sweden is taking more immigrants, more refugees, than UK, France, and all the other Nordic countries combined. And at the same time, Sweden has, in the OECD, the largest gap in employment between natives and immigrants. It's literally the worst country in the world in terms of getting immigrants integrated into the labor market. The central problem of Sweden is that these facts are not openly discussed.
So there are many problems. It's very hard to define one, but the biggest problem is the amount of immigrants that are coming in. In the last couple of years, we have taken in about 250,000 asylum seekers, and for comparison, that would be like America taking in about 8 or 9 million asylum seekers. This is people that Sweden provides housing, healthcare, schooling, and all these a lot of these expensive services that the Swedish welfare system gives to people. And this has created, of course, a lot of huge costs in the short run for the Swedish system, but also when we look at long term, what we're seeing now with crime and poverty is effects of having a very lax migration system for 10-15 years ago. And what we're seeing now with basically ghettos and street gangs, which is a phenomenon that never even heard of in Sweden, and also jihadists traveling abroad, etc. These are problems that are new to Sweden, and Sweden's system is not capable of, it's not capable and it's not designed to handle these problems. For example, in unemployment, in 2006, about 20% of people unemployed were immigrants and foreign-born. Today, that number is up to 60%. So
you are an immigrant from a Muslim family, and yet you've taken a hard line against Muslim immigration, mass immigration from Muslim countries. What's the response been to you?
If we want to help people, and that is truly what we want to do, you cannot put so much pressure to the system that the system collapses under its own weight. And the response I've been having, because I'm merely putting this statement out that's saying, look, there's a limit to how many people you can take in, has been to call me basically Uncle Tom, a house nigger. I've been compared to Dr. Mengele, and this is not from random people on the street. These are people who have prominent posts in parties, in the left, in newspapers, and this is, of course, because I don't tell them the wishful thinking that they want to hear.
Yes. Well, we're very familiar with that in this country. You're a brave man, and we wish you luck. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
And this is the problem. People are too scared to speak about immigration because they get branded as a racist. 2 arrested after police station in Swedish no-go zone bombed. Wow, that's a fucking surprise. A Swedish police station was bombed Wednesday evening, only the latest of a serial attack against such symbols of the Swedish state in recent years. The apparent attack against Swedish police in the migrant ghetto neighbourhood of Rosengård in Sweden's migrant crisis frontier city Malmö took place around 9 o'clock Wednesday night. There was no injuries, but several cars belonging to police officers and the facade of the recently built police station were damaged. 2 police cars were reported to be outright destroyed, and the explosion was so loud it was heard several neighbourhoods over. Well, that's welcoming for you, isn't it? That's showing your appreciation to the society that's brought you in. With open arms, you go around blowing their police stations up because you're bringing all crime and drugs and all this shit with you. And the typical leftist response, oh well, we don't know that it was the immigrants, we don't know that it was Muslims. Of course it fucking was. And if there wasn't a rape crisis in Sweden, why are so many women up in arms about it? You don't hear it in the mainstream media out there though. They cover it up because it apparently doesn't exist. But when you've got gang rapes happening on nearly a day-to-day basis, it's no wonder to think that this society is going to snap anytime soon. And it is the government itself who is just the most infuriating in this situation, because they completely deny that any of this is related. They are too scared and weak to admit that they was wrong, to admit that they've made a mistake. I mean, what sort of leadership is that? What sort of leaders do you have in this country? I mean, yes, their GDP, they're an extremely wealthy country and they're doing very, very well. But soon they're going to be at a fucking standstill because there's going to be a civil war. I can guarantee it. Look, Sweden, it's not racist to think that you need to have stronger borders or vet the people coming in. And how are the police coping with all this? I mean, they must be stretched to be on breaking point, surely. I mean, must be.
Swedish police say they can't cope with the growing number of rape cases in their country. That's what they told one journalist who wanted to know why a man suspected of raping a 12-year-old girl 2 months ago hasn't yet been questioned.
Well, I just wanted to check to see if you'd located a suspect or interrogated anyone.
No.
You haven't?
No, we haven't interrogated any suspects yet, but at least we have a name, and the investigation will tell us whether or not it's the right person, but...
See, what I'm getting at is, it's been over a month since the rape.
Do you know how many rapes occurred? Well, you might think so, but we have so many similar cases and so few people available, we cannot cope with the workload. We have 3-year-old children that get raped.
Without you being able to prosecute those who do it.
Yes.
The country's Minister of Justice has now weighed in, then saying that it's not right that police don't have time to investigate rapes. He suggests they should review their priorities.
What a stupid thing to say. Review their priorities. I think they've got their priorities sorted. It's the fact that there's so much crime going on that they can't actually deal with it all. You sort yours out.
The number of sex crimes committed in Sweden has been on the rise. In the first half of this year, the number of rape cases had increased 14% on the previous year. That's reaching 3,500. A member of the Swedish Democrats Party agrees the police just don't have enough resources.
Rape is a problem in Sweden, but if the police had the right resources that other police forces have in other countries, then they could do their job. The migrant issue is part of the problem. When we had the great migration wave into Sweden, the police was not prepared. So when the migrants came and we had social problems and crime with it, the police did not have the resources to handle that situation. They had resources for the Swedish population and the problems in Sweden, but not the problems that came.
While the police have told me that the majority of the people that they arrest for rape are from Islamic backgrounds, BRA, the official keeper of Swedish crime statistics, curiously dropped the background of those arrested from the official statistics.
The government has failed to recognize that it's made a huge mistake. And the European Union has failed to recognize that it's made a huge mistake when we have this free movement. And the movement, of course, is flowing toward the country with the most generous social benefit system.
So what does the Swedish government do in this situation where you've got high crime rates, rapes going on all the time? Oh, that's right, they're planning on closing prisons. That really makes sense, doesn't it? High crime rate, close prisons. High crime rate, close prisons. Dicks.
Do you think the sexual assault problem is an Islamic problem or not really?
No, I think it's a general problem among men.
Yeah, the problem isn't like this culture or that culture. The problem is male culture.
I don't think the immigrants is the problem.
No, it's not. Like, that's just like a tiny bit of the problem, and like when that happens, like it's because we didn't like bring them in the right way.
And I don't see that connection at all, and I would very much like to see the evidence of such a connection.
Do you think it's almost racist to make that connection?
Yes, I think so.
Is there a point where you think that Sweden's done too much to bring people in, or do you think there's...
No, there is no too much in helping people.
And this is the thanks you get for being that helpful and being that friendly and welcoming, not vetting the people who are coming into your country. Well done, because you've allowed this to happen. But it's no surprise coming from the country that we coined the phrase Stockholm Syndrome. I mean, look at it. You're destroying your country, completely on the verge of civil war, and you say let everybody come in even more. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense. It's not a racist situation to think that you have to have some sort of control. You have no control, and now you're losing control of your country. I mean, you've got to admit, when you invite people into your country, you expect them to give you some sort of respect for doing it, but they're not giving you any respect. They're blowing up your police stations, they're raping your women, they're causing you pain, they're causing you suffering, and all you do is ignore it. It is not racist to say enough is enough. You need to get control of this situation, otherwise it's going to be bursting point. And you are on the brink of civil war. You all need to wake up in Sweden. You literally need to wake up. And before we all know it, it's going to be happening everywhere else. Oh, and one more thing. What is the Swedish government's big idea and big plan to cut down on immigrants raping their women? I mean, what do you imagine they would do? I would put them in prison, but no. They're going to hand out booklets explaining why rape is bad. Now, any normal human being would understand that rape isn't a great thing to do to another person. Would you think that? Obviously these people don't.
Hi there, please like, share and subscribe if you like this content, and if you'd like to see some more poorly scripted and edited content, please ring my bell.
I'm spread. Little body got the shot into your body.